Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Rayge, and we are back once again with the top 10 teams in Marvel Strike Force that you should invest in. These teams are, ultimately what's going to get you a lot of the content unlocked, especially if you're free to play like myself. We have just wrapped up the most recent Shadow Kings legendary event, so figure more than anything right now, this is going to be timely, especially with some of the teams that we were able to utilize and work on this list. So typically every month I like to take a look at this list and plus minus a team here and there based on what I'm seeing in the meta. And generally, if you are working towards all these teams, whether you're in the beginning stages or mid game, this is going to get you a lot of the content unlocked in terms of raids, arena, working in Dark Dimension. There is definitely less emphasis in Alliance War and Cosmic Crucible, but you'll see with these teams that there's also going to be value there. It's more so my focus is making sure that if you're progressing in the game and getting resources, obviously the two most important game modes in my honest opinion is arena game mode, and as well obviously working through the daily raids day in day out, because those two give you the best bang for buck in terms of what you're getting for your roster progression. So without further ado, let me get started with my top 10 teams here. And typically this doesn't change too often from the every month update, but having said that, that's why it's always important to stay up to date, because the meta can change just like that. We already know a few other teams are around the corner. I'm going to make another video on that as well. But in the meantime, guys, if you focus or build some of these teams up, this is going to get you, like I said, 90% of the content unlocked, especially if you're transitioning to that end game and trying to work on those quality rosters. Now, I'm going to start off with the raid teams because those ones are obvious and we need to work on them as soon as possible. They build a strong foundation in the game, and hence why it's important. So first and foremost, this is kind of a disclaimer here for two teams, but really it's meant for one team, right? It's the Bifrost team or the Night Stalkers. You may or may not have access to Night Stalkers with their farm ability being around the corner, but in case you didn't get their unlock, Bifrost may be the only option that you have right now, plus minus some Mystic options. So reason being is obviously you need a good Mystic team. This team can still get the job done all the way into Incursion until the beginning of Orcus raids, where you may have to tweak around, but Val remains a strong component for myself because I used her in Dark Dimension. I still feel like she's going to be a very important character in the ongoing future for Dark Dimension. But having said that, if you've already built up Night Stalkers, they're the go-to. I haven't needed to because I've had other options work around, but one of these two teams are typically what you would need for the Mystic, right? Next up, we have the Mutant section. The best form of the Extreme X-Men team is Old Man Logan in place of Cyclops. You're going to get ultimate value, so you don't have to invest in, obviously, a fifth character that you don't need. Having said that, mutants are on the way out. This team is probably going to be the next team that gets replaced in raids, but for the meantime anyways, still hands down a top 10 team in Marvel Strike Force, and especially Old Man Logan being one of the best characters in the game and the most recent legendary before Shadow King himself. A strong Dark Dimension team. They just have usage all across the board. A great all-rounder for sure. And speaking of all-rounder, Spider Society may be very well the most well-rounded team in the game in terms of what they bring. You can use them in Arena, Raid, Dark Dimension, War, Cosmic Crucible. This is an absolute must-build team. Obviously, you don't have to build them up as high as myself, but if you bring them up to level 100, gear tier 19, they're just going to get maximized in every way possible. They're also utilized in Battle World. So, I mean, you just can't go wrong with this team. They're so synergistically, they're very, very good. And with them actually being, a relatively newer raid team, they'll have a bit of shelf life still. So, especially in the 2025 coming year here. Now we get into some of the newer stuff, right? We have Orcus, the Orcus tech team. This is one of the newer teams that came out. Actually, I think it's the newest one. Right before the Night Stalkers. But I mean, regardless, this team is rock solid. They're gonna have a lot of staying value. They can be utilized across many game modes. I'm still building up my Omega Sentinel because I was working previously on the Shadow King stuff. But yeah, this team is rock solid. They're good everywhere. War, Crucible. They have obviously their go-to is gonna be Orcus. But yeah, a great synergy. You can even bring them into Dark Dimension, so you can build them up. They're gonna be giving you dividends for quite some time. And again, they're the second newest raid team, which is very important. Then we have Hive Mind. Hive Mind's interesting because I think this team potentially will get replaced after Mutants. So you may want to caution how high you build them. Having said that, they're really synergistically good as well. But out of all the teams I've listed, they're probably on the lower end. They're probably next to, I would say, on the way out with Extreme X-Men, but, still really good. The best form of the Hive Mind team is with Super Skrull, but if you don't have them, that's okay. You can still use Venom in place of Super Skrull, but yeah, this team is rock solid. I'm going to be very interested once we get the unlock of Null. Having Null and the symbiote synergies might give Hive Mind a little bit more love again, but in the meantime, this is what gets the job done all the way for me in the highest levels of Orcus. Obviously, they have value as well if you want to bring them up into War and Crucible, but in the meantime, they're definitely one of the most conservative teams I haven't built up just because their usage, they're getting it done at these levels, and I don't need to gear tier 19 and level 100 all of them because they're just, they're important for what it is. Now, having said that, there's also some usage for some of these characters as well, and some of the Sword Satellite level, so something you may want to consider on building up. Regardless though, Super Skrull makes this team and puts them over the top. And then next up, I have some of these stable teams where you likely will need them for some way, shape, or form in the future in terms of legendary unlock. That's kind of the reason they're on here, because you basically need these teams to unlock legendaries in the future, and some of the legendaries are, some of the best tunes in the game. So Out of Time, Cabal, my goodness, they're good teams, but in specific niches, right? Out of Time did have a little bit of value in Crucible when the season bonused them. But other than that, they're a really good war defense team, and Black Knight, still, a top 10 tune in the game, given his utility. So that's the reason why he's there. Now, having said that, I want you to focus on the minimal investment I've done, because you can definitely invest less in Starbrand as well as Cosmic Ghost Rider, whereas I think Black Knight gives you probably the best value out of these 5 tunes, and he can carry the load, especially in the Old Man Logan trials, and that's kind of why they're here, right? This team and Cabal are needed for Old Man Logan unlock, and Cabal, my goodness, invest them to the moon. They can be utilized in many aspects of the game: Cosmic Crucible, Dark Dimension. They're now officially used in 2 legendary unlocks in both Shadow King and Old Man Logan, so take advantage of that. Cabal is just such a fun team to play too. So much utility, so powerful, and they're a 3-piece that can work with other villains, which is why I think this team is probably going to be one of the most important teams in the future, because they have a lot of potential, especially when you can slot in different villain characters for their synergies. Which then now leads us kind of to the final 3 here. So we have both Illuminati and as well as the Annihilators team, and this is very important. Actually, my apologies. This Illuminati team should actually have, it shouldn't actually have Iron Man here. I would take that out for Captain Britain. I just didn't get a chance to swap that in. But yeah, the best version of this team is going to be with Captain Britain if you have it unlocked. Otherwise, Annihilators is also important too, but especially the 3-piece of Gore, Thanos Endgame, and Gladiator, just because of the value they bring in arena meta. So they're the 3 pieces utilized in some way, shape, or form. Maybe a 2-piece, depending on how many of the epic characters that you have. The mythic characters you have unlocked. Having said that, you need these 2 teams for Shadow King, and that's why they're on this list. With Shadow King being around being in the event right now for the unlock availability. So that's why they're built up as the way they are. But I would say Annihilators, you get the most value. You can try to min-max Illuminati, because aside from that, they're still one of the best Crucible teams. But really, the reason I brought them up was because I wanted a big upgrade in Shadow King. And then last but not least, this is my newest team that I've added. I usually like to include my last final revisions at the very end. Mercs for Money, now officially getting utilized in Battle World, now being an official team that you need for Shadow King. I think they're the better option than the Undying option that we get for Shadow King, so hence why they're on this list. But more importantly, as you saw earlier with the Extreme X-Men team, Old Man Logan is the best form of that team. Well, guess what? He has his own team as well, and my goodness, this team has so much usage everywhere because of their mechanic, the revives that they can get with their synergies, a really strong all-rounder team, and one of the best war teams in the game. So there you guys have it. The top 10 teams in the game right now that's going to unlock 90% of the content in Marvel Strike Force that you should be building on. Hopefully you're watching this earlier on so you can pay attention to these teams, as well as the ones I pointed out where you may want to caution on building, because we know with this game, the meta can change very fast. Hope this is helpful, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below if I missed anything. Thank you for your time as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.